Well, the DA will today hold a closed session on its finances and is, for now at least, mum on the costs incurred in running its 2023 Federal Congress. It's the biggest such event in the opposition party's lifetime. Since 6 this morning, 2,000 voting delegates have been electing the party's new leaders. Voting, which is electronic, closes at 9 a.m. with the new leadership to be announced later this afternoon. Now, our reporter Erin Bates joins us live. A very good morning to you, Erin. What is the atmosphere currently like right now at the Gallagher Convention Centre?
Well, things are thinning out here in the courtyard in front of the premises for the DA's 2023 Federal Conference. That's because officially day 2 of this historic event for the opposition party is now underway. Dr. Ivan Meyer, who is Federal Chair, will be giving an opening address for today, as he did yesterday, and then we'll move into the day's program, which includes, as you say, that closed session during which a report will be tabled on the DA's money, its number crunching, its own internal finances. We had sought to get an actual quantum, a figure for this conference. If you look behind me, you'll see some of those delegates who are here. They've got goodie bags. Those include a program and some of the details of the constitutional amendments. It's a really big affair to put on a conference like this or a congress like this. Plenty of branding, plenty of material all about, and those odds add up. Those costs add up, Mtukozo. Now, in terms of DA funding disclosures to the IEC, of course, the Electoral Commission of South Africa, the DA did disclose funding in the first quarter of this year, as it's required to by law above a certain cap, as are all political parties. It disclosed some 16 million rand in political party donations to it. Those came from a Fynbos company, or a company with Fynbos in the name, which made the bulk of that 16 million rand donation. That was around some 15 million rand. And in the last quarter of last year, the DA disclosed some 35 million rand in funding. It also disclosed donations in kind. So those are donations which are not actual cash, but are goods and services, training and similar such pledges to a political party. Interestingly, there, the DA disclosed donations from a Danish entity and also a German entity. But in terms of knowing how much this conference cost and whether or not that money is clean, we don't have any figures as yet, but we did hear from one of the presiding officers. She's adamant the money is clean, there's nothing untoward, and the rest of those details of the number crunching will be discussed during that internal session this morning.
Yeah, something else that Mam Gondwe touched on, Erin, of course, was the electronic voting system that is being used as we speak, as all 2,000 delegates start to, of course, mark their vote for their preferred candidate, going to great lengths again to allay those concerns and fears raised by one of those candidates, being former Johannesburg Mayor Paul Palatse, around, the fairness of the system itself.
Yes, and I think important to note there that Dr. Palatse was relaying her understanding of what delegates themselves had shared with her. Some of their anxieties or concerned about that digital voting system for this Congress. We know that the DA has used this system before, that the official for the voting system is confident that it's all secure and there's no room for any funny business when it comes to the voting. Each candidate received after 5 a.m. this morning a unique code and a link to which they then went and have been going and will go up until 9 o'clock, and a unique code they can then use to make those votes and put their weight behind candidates, not only for the leader of the DA but other senior positions. Those include the position of Federal Chair and also Federal Committee Chair. We've already discussed some of the intricacies of those two roles. The Federal Chair position is almost like the deputy to the leader of the DA, and the Federal Committee Chair is really an administrative position which you could liken in some ways, perhaps not too many in the mouths of DA politicians, but in some ways to the role of the Secretary General in the ANC. So those are also important positions for this party as it builds its power team leading into the 2024 elections. Dr. Meyer yesterday in his opening address sharply sort of putting the ANC on notice and saying this is the party that is going to lead South Africa post-2024 national polls.
Yeah. You know, I know you've had a couple of conversations already with some of the delegates out there at the Gallagher Convention Centre, Erin, and I'm curious to hear from you. In which direction do you think a majority of them are leaning towards? Is it a case of really, placing their support behind John Steenhuisen as a proven leader, one who's risen up the party's ranks over the last couple of years? I mean, you heard for yourself from DA MP Natasha Mazzoni yesterday talking about just how much work John Steenhuisen has put into the building and reshaping and recalibrating of the Democratic Alliance that we're witnessing today.
Yes, well, to be clear, I haven't spoken to all 2,000 delegates. I think it's important just to make that clear before I weigh in on the leadership race currently underway. But certainly one gets a sense of the culture of the DA, speaking to different voting delegates who are here among those who are casting their ballots. And it does seem that there is a pervading culture of rank and file within the DA. There are some who are keenly aware that the party is up against challenge when it comes to growing its voter base. That councillor we spoke to a little bit earlier from just up this ramp, in fact, saying that, he's mindful of the need to have a new face, a fresh face, the stakes at play here in South Africa, the disaster that we're on the brink of, he mentioned. And that to my ear, I don't know about you, Ntokozo, but that to my ear kind of rung true or rung in sync with what we heard from Dr. Palatse yesterday in her address, lobbying for support. But yes, you're right, the likes of Natasha Mazzoni, she made no meal out of letting us know that she's backing John Steenhuisen all the way. She spoke about his track record in the party and particularly that he's been able to hang in there during crunch moments. But I think to just problematize that a little bit, Dr. Palatse is no stranger to the DA. She's been in the party for some 8 years. She too is highly qualified. She is more formally educated than John Steenhuisen in terms of tertiary education, although Steenhuisen, of course, has his experience within the very party. And so those are some of the issues that have been coming up in terms of looking at these two candidates and what they offer the DA in terms of leadership moving forward, not only into 2024, but if the party has its way, and it's a big if, leading government or leading a coalition government into actually running a government, the first coalition government and post-ANC government in South Africa after 2024. I mean, there's a lot of ifs and buts in that, Ntokozo, because of course, there are months ahead. Some polls showing, in fact, declining support for the DA and plenty to work through as we lead up into next year's national election.
All right, Erin, we'll leave it there for now. And as it stands, I think looking at the clock, we're about 50 minutes away from voting officially closing. So very soon we'll be able to officially at least announce or help the party announce at least through our platform who their chosen federal leader is. Thank you so much, Erin.
Power not to the government, power to the people.
I have decided to make myself available for the position of federal leader at the upcoming Federal Congress.